Hello learners, welcome to this video lesson. In this lesson, we will discuss another topic. The title of the topic is State as an Agency of Education, and you are very much acquainted with the course. From there, this topic has been taken. Your course, the title of your course is Education, Concept, Nature and Perspectives, and the course code is BESC 131. Before starting our discussion, let me to introduce myself. I, Dr. Niradhar De, Associate Professor, School of Education, Indira Gandhi National Open University, welcome you all to this video lesson. Let us go forward. As you know that presently we are in the third module of your online course. The title of the module is Agencies of Education, and in this module 4 different video lessons are there. Just like first, family as an agency of education, we have already discussed. School as an agency of education, we have discussed in our earlier video lesson. Then community and media as agencies of education, that also we have discussed in our earlier lesson. And in this lesson, we are going to discuss state as an agency of education. So friends, I have already said that these 5 agencies, these 5 agencies are very much important for educating the child. Just like the child nurtures and get education at the beginning part of your life from the family, then they enter in the school. So earlier family act as an agency of education, and further when they enter in the schooling process, in the schooling system, then the school acts as an agency of education, and further community and media also act as agencies of education, and further state also work as an agency of education. Okay. So now after understanding family, school, community and media, I think you are in a position now to understand well about the state as an agency of education. Let us go forward. So let me to focus upon some of the learning outcomes of state as an agency of education after going through this lesson, after watching this lesson, and after going through the part content of your self-learning material relating to this module, okay, particularly relating to state as an agency of education. You will be able to explain the concept of state as an agency of education. Then you will be able to describe the role of state for the education of the child, what role that the state performs as an agency of education, how state helps for the development of education of the child through the school. Okay, so that we will discuss, and further we will discuss the interface between, or you will be able to discuss the interface between and among the agencies of education. Friends, we have discussed 5 different agencies: family, school, community, media, and in this lesson state. And in the last learning outcome, what you will be doing, you will be just developing a type of interface between and among these 5 agencies. When I am talking about between, it may be school with the community, okay, media with the school, but when I am talking about among the agencies of education, it means how these 5 agencies of education, they work together, they help each other, they contribute for the development of other. Okay. So that also we will discuss. This is also one of the learning outcome. Now let us try to understand. I have already discussed the categorization of different agencies of education. Just like here, if I will categorize it in active and passive agencies of education, I can say that under active agency of education, school, family, community, religion, state, social clubs, games, entertainment and entertainment programs, it can be included. So here you see state is also included in it. So we can say that state is one of the active agencies of education. Okay, state is not a passive agencies of education. You will understand that how state is considered as one of the active agencies of education, how state actively involved for developing the educational policies, educational schemes and transacting education to the students through the school. Okay. So, what responsibility, what roles that the state undertakes, that also we will discuss. Then under passive agencies of education, we have already discussed that cinema, television, all types of media, you can say radio, newspaper, magazine, marketplace are come under this. Now, let us try to understand the very concept of state as an agency of education. State is an organized political community with government recognized by people. So, we call that it is a state. It means the state is having a political community and a recognized government, a defined government. Okay. And who take the responsibility of the state? The concerned government, they take the responsibility of the state. Further, role of state is for the overall development of its citizen in terms of education, health, infrastructure, economy and other socio-cultural aspects. Try to understand the responsibility of state is not only in developing education or providing education, rather it also takes care the health facilities of the citizens. It also develops infrastructure, different institutions and other types of infrastructure also for the consumption of the community, for the consumption of the citizens. Then it also takes care the economy and other socio-cultural aspects. Okay. So, how economy is part of a state, how state generates economy, then distributes economy also for the development of the community and for the development of the entire state. Then we can also say that state ensures that all children irrespective of caste, creed, religion, socio-economic background etc. have access to educational facilities. If I will give the example of Right to Education Act, RT Act 2009, it focuses upon that how to provide quality elementary education to the citizen or to the children in age appropriate you can say classes, especially in the age of 6 to 14 and class from 1 to 8 to each and every child of the state irrespective of their caste, creed, religion and socio-economic background. It is the responsibility of the state. State ensures it. Okay. Whether elementary education or the fundamental right of the children to get elementary education, whether they are getting it or not. If they are not getting it, then it is the responsibility of the state to provide them elementary education, compulsory elementary education. Then further it promotes the constitutional provision of equity and equality of the educational opportunities. Okay. First of all, to consider equality, to achieve equality, that all are equal, all people are, they should get the facility equally, but at the same time achieving equity is also another concept, because in the society you will find that no two individuals are equal. You will find there are individual differences in different aspects so far as their mental aspect is concerned, socio-economic background is concerned, from diverse background where the children, where the people are coming is concerned, and at the same time their language, their culture and other aspects or practices are concerned. So, that is why only providing equality, if you will consider all are equal, so your objective will not be fulfilled. Rather, with practicing equality, the sense of equity should be practiced. You have to ensure that yes, we are practicing equality, then to know whether each and every individual are getting that facility or not, whether they are able to enhance themselves or not, whether they are able to groom themselves or not, or whether we are able to make them reach at a particular level or not. That is called as, if I will give the example of in education, that may be in minimum level of learning, whether they are reaching at the minimum level of learning or not. This is not only to make all the children sit in a classroom and to teach them, rather to understand them, their weaknesses and strong points, then accordingly to design our teaching, then accordingly to address their need. There may be a differently able child in your school, in your class. So, only using the facility or providing the facilities of equality may not serve that purpose. So, that is why equity should be addressed, which is one of the important concern of our constitution. Then further it regulates the entire education system by preparing plans, executing them and providing educational supports to the students through various schemes of education. So, what the state does? State come forward with different educational policies, and further for implementing that policies they also come forward with different schemes. Okay. Through these schemes they implement the policies. So, this is the work of the state, and further we can say that as state as an agency of education, in the hierarchy of school management, state occupies the top position to exercise its control over the education system in the country. Try to understand. If you start from the school level, that is the ground, that is the root, you can say, from the ground level, that is school. So, education at the school level, that means in a school you will find that in a community there is a school, and further the schools are being managed by the education department at the block level. Okay. And further education department at the block level is also managed by education department established at the district level, and further education department established at the district level is also managed by education at the state level. So, this is the hierarchy. That means imparting education, it starts from the very beginning of state level, then by using a hierarchy, by using different level, it reached at the school, just like from the state education department to district education department to block education department and further at the school. In the school, the exact curricula, the exact syllabi, the exact curriculum are got implemented. Teaching learning process are conducted. Teachers and students, they sit together, they discuss, they participate in many activities, then accordingly teacher try to transmit, try to transact the curricular practices, and many co-scholastic activities are also being practiced in terms of different activities, may be related to games and sports, may be related to cultural activities, may be related to different literary activities, yoga, peace education, life skills education. So, all such things are happened at the school level, and directly it is not possible to do. So, there is a management, there is a type of educational administration that starts from the very beginning of the state. So, that is why state is considered as an active agency of education. Let us go forward to understand about the role of state for the education of the child. A liberal state takes the responsibility to develop an education policy for implementing it across the country. Okay, so what the state does? First of all, state establishes education, a type of education policy. Okay. And in the educational policy, you will find that many provision, many recommendations are there. So far as school education is concerned, what will be the structure of school education, what will be the structure of higher education, what will be the structure and practices in technical and professional education. So, in this way, there is a progress in the education system, and the control is in the hand of the state government, and further state constitutes committees to look into the matter by constituting various stakeholders in education, organizing seminars and workshops before making it final. Try to understand, developing an education policy is not an overnight task. Rather, you will find that years together group of professionals they engaged, or the committee they engaged for developing educational policy. So, that is why they interact with many stakeholders. The stakeholders, those are involved in the education system. It may be parents, it may be community members, teachers, students, educationists, okay, philanthropists, at the same time non-government organizations, okay, and further they organize workshops and seminars to take the views, to take the opinions that what should be the progressive education system, education structure of a country. Okay. And further, state also set up various commissions for time to time, give recommendations pertaining to different aspects concerned with different levels of education like school education, higher education, teacher education, technical and professional education. Further, the Secondary Education Commission, if I will focus upon some of the commissions that are being established in our country in India and that have given a set for education at different stages. Just like if I will give the example of the Secondary Education Commission, which was established in 1952-53, was set up to recommend for school education system in India. So, mostly you will find that the recommendations are related to school education, development of school education in our country. Further, the education policy in 1964-66 was set up to recommend for education at all stages. It includes, it is a complete policy, you can say that it includes school education, higher education, teacher education, technical education, vocational education, okay, and professional education also. And further, if I will give the example of National Policy on Education, National Policy on Education NPE 1986 provides detailed guidelines for education system at all levels. It has recommended 10+2+3 system of education that includes 10 years of secondary school education that starts from class 1 to class 10, formal education, formal school education, then 2 years of higher secondary education, that is class 11th and 12th, or you can say junior college, that is +2 first year and +2 second year, and we say it is the senior secondary or higher secondary education, and 3 years of degree education. 3 years of degree education, that is the higher education, or you can say college education. It may be in terms of BA, in terms of BCom or BSc or BTech or other types of program also. So, 3 years degree education. This is the 10+2+3 system of education. Further, the recent development, that is National Education Policy NEP 2020, has given details recommendations on school education, higher education, teacher education and other areas of education also. Okay. Apart from this school, higher and teacher education, it has recommended a new pedagogical and curricular structure of 5+3+3+4 systems of school education. Here 5 years of foundational stage of education, that includes 3 years of pre-primary education or 3 years of preschool education, then 2 years, that is class 1 and 2 of formal education. So, including this, we can say that this is the foundational stage. Okay. So, it provides a type of foundation to the learners, to the students, to the child. Then further 3 years of preparatory education, that includes class 3, 4 and 5. Then further 3 years of middle stage education, that includes class 6, 7 and 8, and further 4 years of secondary education, that includes class 9th, 10th, 11th and 12th. So, here 2 years of higher secondary, that are also included in the secondary education, but there is an exit option. After 10 years of schooling, one can appear the board examination and one can go in many vocational and skill based programs also. Okay. So, this is the curricular and pedagogical structure that is called as 5+3+3+4 system of education as per NEP 2020. So, friends, I have just given example of all such educational commissions because it is the responsibility of the state. It is the role of the state that time and again at different time the concerned government, they have come forward with the education commissions, and education commissions they have given their recommendations, they have given their suggestions that what should be the education system, what should be the structure, what should be the pedagogic structure, what should be the assessment practices. So, that is why it is the responsibility of the particular state government. Now, let us go forward to understand about how state as an agency of education implement different education policies through the Education Commission, the concerned government that develop education policy. Okay. And in the education policy, for implementing the education policy, what the state does, state come forward, it may be central government or it may be state government, they come forward with different schemes, and these schemes are part of the policy, and further policy is also part of our education system and part of our country's development, overall development, and it is also one of our constitutional responsibility. Okay. Just like here, if I will take the name of few of the education schemes, just like Right to Education Act 2009, this is one of the scheme. Main objective of this scheme is to provide the right to the children to get free and compulsory elementary education up to the age of 6 to 14 from class 1 to 8. Okay. So, as you know that this is implemented from 1st April 2010, the Right to Education Act, and India become 139th country globally having a such type of right in the country, a fundamental right of the children of this country to get compulsory elementary education. Then further, the another scheme that is called as midday meal scheme, this is also one of the education scheme. The objective of this scheme is to enhance enrollment, retention, attendance, and simultaneously to improve the nutritional status of the children. It fulfills many objectives, you can say, and this is because of this is for developing education of the children, and at the same time for fulfilling other objective. It may be nutritional, it may be increasing attendance in the school, and at the same time for keeping retention also. Then further other schemes are Kasturba Gandhi Balika Vidyalaya. If I will give the example, the objective is to provide the upper primary schools residential facilities for the girls from scheduled caste, scheduled tribe, other backward classes and Muslim communities. So, through the Kasturba Gandhi Balika Vidyalaya, you will find that these schools are just like the residential schools, and in these schools you will find SC, ST, OBC and Muslim students that take admission and they continue their education. And here as per the constitutional obligation, care has been given that the downtrodden communities, okay, those are not in the mainstream of the society, so to provide them facilities for getting education, okay, for getting quality education, you can say. The National Bal Bhavan, this is a very old scheme, you can say, and it includes to provide, the objective is to provide opportunity to the children for enhancing their creativity through creative art, writing, performance, physical education, scientific innovation, photography, etc. in a joyful environment. Okay. So, this is also another scheme related to education. And further we can say Rashtriya Madhyamik Shiksha Abhiyan, which was established in 2009, is also another scheme, and it is the responsibility of the state to implement it, as this is also a part of education policy. The main objective of RMSA, Rashtriya Madhyamik Shiksha Abhiyan, is to enhance the enrollment at secondary stage by providing a secondary school within a reasonable distance of habitation and with an aim to ensure gross enrollment ratio GER of 100% by 2017 and universal retention by 2020. And further, the other objective of RMSA is to improve quality education imparted at secondary level. Right to Education Act 2009, which is a fundamental right that talks upon providing compulsory and quality elementary education, but RMSA, it focuses upon quality secondary education. But now you will find that RMSA is also part of Samagra Shiksha Abhiyan, okay, from 2017 onwards. Then further we can give one of the recent education example of one of the recent education scheme. This is very much appreciated by the people, that is called as the UDAN 2014. This scheme was launched in 2014, and the main objectives of this scheme is to address the quality gap between school education and engineering entrance by addressing three-dimensional of education, that is curriculum design, transaction and assessment. So, how to reduce this gap between our school education system and the things which are going on in engineering. The education system, or the you can say the knowledge structure that are included in engineering, how to minimize that gap, so that by addressing the curriculum design, or by transacting it, or in assessment system, so that how all will get a type of opportunity to go for a quality professional education. And further, to enrich, another objective is to enrich and enhance teaching and learning of science and mathematics at senior secondary level. So, how to focus upon teaching and learning and knowledge acquisition processes in science and mathematics, especially at the higher secondary stage, that means in the 11th and 12th stage, because we all understand that 11th and 12th stage are most important stage, okay? And these stages it enables the learners for preparing their further life, for professional life, for getting a career oriented technical or professional education. So, how to help them in this stage, how to fit them in this stage for getting such professional education. So, that is why knowledge in science and knowledge in mathematics is very much important. And further, to provide a platform that empowers the girl students and to provide better learning opportunities to them. So, friends, here you will find that there is a gap between, so far as technical, vocational and professional education is concerned, there is a gap between boys and girls. So, how to reduce, how to minimize those gaps, it is also another important objective. I am just giving this example because it is the responsibility of the state to implement the education policy, and implementation of education policy is only possible when the state will come forward with many education schemes for addressing the need of different section of the students. It may be students from different classes, students from different diverse background of the society. It may be for the women, it may be for the girls, for the minorities, for the scheduled castes and scheduled tribes, at the same time from weaker sections also. I have already discussed. Now, let me to focus upon very briefly that the role of state for the education of the child. First of all, the role of state is for providing provision for schooling, for establishment of school. State takes that responsibility. Then state also establishes adult and lifelong learning centers in the community. Then state also provides finance to the school, how the school will run. It may be recurring or non-recurring, it may be salary of the teachers, or at the same time it may be you can say other type of infrastructural development in the educational institutions. State take that responsibility. Then appointment of the teachers, as per Right to Education Act, the state maintain the ratio between teacher and students. It may be 1:30 or it may be 1:35, so far as primary and upper primary classes in the elementary education is concerned. Then further, state also go for printing textbooks and study materials and provide it to the students at a proper time in school education. Then provision of scholarships also, you will find that different types of scholarships and incentives state also provides to the students, okay, for promoting students and for motivating students to involve in the teaching learning process. And further, coordination between school and community is also another important responsibility of the state. State work just like a middleman, just like a middle person, that it correlate or it linked the school and the community, because we have already discussed that the development of school is not possible if community is not involved in it, and the development of community and society is also not possible if school is not involved in it. So, that is why state works as a middle person for linking these two entities in our society. Further, the interface between and among the agencies of education. During our discussion in 5 different agencies of education, I have already discussed that how these 5 agencies of education, it may be home, it may be school, it may be family, community, state and media are interlinked with each other. They talk with each other, they work for the development of each other. School is interlinked and associated with the community. Home is associated with the school because the nurturing and the initial education, initial experiences that the learners get, that the children get at the home, further they use it for getting formal education in school. So, in this way, home is a part of the community and school is also a part of the community. Both home and schools are the miniatures or the subsections of the community or subsections of the larger society. So, that is why here community, home and school are very much interlinked with each other. At the same time, media helps for transacting the things, media helps for transmitting the things from one place to other place, from one community to other community, from one agencies to other agencies. So, that is why school uses media, home also uses media, community also uses media, at the same time state also uses media. You will not find any agency that they are not using media. They are using media in many forms, maybe electronic media or maybe you can say a type of print media. Okay, it may be newspaper, magazine, radio, television and different online media. So, media is an integrated part of our development and of our education system, and overall state is also the important agency that it controls all. State controls the community, even if the home education system, and at the same time the schooling also. State establishes school, provides education, provide textbooks and provide resources and funding and manage the system also. And I have already said that media is part of for categorizing and for involving all these media, all these agencies. Further, let me to focus upon some of the questions for your practice, just like why state is an important agency of education. You can write a question, a long question, the importance of state as an agency of education. Then you can explain the role of state as an agency of education. What are the different roles that the state performs, that also you can write. Then you can explain the implementation strategies of educational policies by the state as an agency of education. So, how the state implement the educational policies by using different or by establishing or by coming forward with different educational schemes that already we have discussed. It may be Right to Education Act, it may be midday meal, it may be Udan, it may be other types of schemes also, RMSA, okay, Kasturba Gandhi Balika Vidyalaya, then Bal Bhavan and other types of schemes also. Then further, how different agencies of education interface between and among themselves. So, here we have discussed that the 5 agencies of education, how they work for the development of each other, okay, how they interface with each other, that also we have discussed. I am very much hopeful that you have understood these 5 agencies of education, and these video lessons will definitely help you to understand this module, then accordingly to perform both in your assignment as well as in your term examination. In our next session, we will discuss the 4th module of your course. Thank you.